Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video, we're going to be checking out a brand new charge move in the world of Pokemon Go, Double Iron Bash on Melmetal. Now, you'll be able to Elite TM this charge move onto Melmetal later in the month, or you can get a Melmetal with Double Iron Bash by completing the Professor Willow research. Now, Double Iron Bash is a Steel-type Dragon Claw clone, meaning that Melmetal is going to trade some closing power for increased spamminess, and I'm hoping that Double Iron Bash will give it increased play versus Zacian Dialga in the Master League. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches and check out some Master League practice battles featuring Double Iron Bash Melmetal. Hopping to the first match, leading Melmetal into Zacian. Now this is one of the matchups that I'm really excited for to see how Melmetal does with Double Iron Bash. Of course, Melmetal did have access to Flash Cannon previously, but Flash Cannon was very expensive. So if it got shielded, it would be a bit of a tough spot, whereas Double Iron Bash is insanely fast. As you can see, I already have 2.5 Double Iron Bashes loaded. Here, I accidentally overtap and throw on terrible timing, but still, I've already farmed up to the equivalent of 3 Double Iron Bashes in this match. I farm up again to back-to-back. This is just a lightning fast move. Double Iron Bash gets them low, and we get the close combat catch onto Lugia. You love to see it. That's a double resisted close combat. Opponent now gonna send in Metagross. Not a great matchup for Lugia, but I'm more than happy to send in the Lugia here if it means wasting the energy from the Zacian. They fire off a Meteor Mash. I'm going to continue to farm up and return fire with the Aeroblast. This, of course, is going to be resisted, but Aeroblast is a very powerful move, able to get the Metagross low. Metagross forced to fire off another charge move here. They go for the Meteor Mash. That's going to KO, and I'm going to send in Dragonite looking for the incredibly aggressive farm down, and Dragonite gets it. That's huge. In the back, my opponent has Palkia, so things are looking very good for me here. I'm going to fire off the Dragon Claw. Dragon Claw is going to get a shield from my opponent. In comes Zacian. This will be their second close combat. I'm going to let this through. Close combat, not going to KO. They're going to send back in the Palkia, and I'll be able to fire off the Dragon Claw to get them low, and then I should have energy on the Melmetal, making it to the Superpower. Superpower, obviously more than enough to take care of the Palkia and secure the win. Interesting lead in the next match, Melmetal into Gyarados. Now this is a matchup actually made a lot more awkward by the fact that Melmetal is no longer running Rock Slide. So I'm going to bank a bunch of energy on Melmetal and actually switch out into Lugia. My opponent's Gyarados is going to fire off the Crunch. They do get the defense drop, and in comes Metagross. Not the greatest spot for Lugia to be in. Lugia going straight for the Aeroblast. Since they're over farming, let's apply some damage. Aeroblast lands, getting them below half health, and we get the boost. The bad news is they easily have enough for back-to-back here, so I'm just going to let this go. Meteor Mash, of course, is going to KO, but now I can send in the Melmetal, fire off the Superpower before they're able to make it to the Quake. Superpower is going to KO. In comes Gyarados. I aggressively switch into Dragonite. My opponent is not switching out yet. It's possible their timer wasn't quite up yet, so I fire off the Dragon Claw. I grab a shield, and in the back, they have their own Dragonite. I'm able to make it to a Dragon Claw, putting a lot of pressure on that final shield, as this will do a lot of damage. Opponent forced to commit the final shield here. I continue to farm. They do farm me down, but now I have Melmetal with 2 shields. I will respect the potential Superpower here. They go for the Dragon Claw bait, but I'm able to make it to Double Iron Bash. Double Iron Bash, as I mentioned, not the strongest move, but is going to KO. Back in comes the Gyarados. Gyarados firing off a charge move. I should live whatever they throw here. It's just the Aqua Tail. Melmetal makes it to the Double Iron Bash. This is resisted due to the water typing, but Double Iron Bash still enough to KO and get the win. We've got a tricky lead in the next match, Melmetal into Excadrill. Excadrill can hit this entire team for super effective damage, so definitely not the most comfortable mon here. My opponent going for the drill run right away. I will commit the shield, and my plan is to farm up, and I can actually bait with Double Iron Bash if I want to. Double Iron Bash is slightly cheaper, so I am going to bait here and try and grab a shield from my opponent. Double Iron Bash gets the shield, farm up, switch, and catch the drill run onto Lugia. Let's go. Lugia, of course, going to be able to tank that damage like it's nothing. Exca wanting to stay in this matchup as Exca can apply a lot of pressure here with Rock Slides, but the good news is that double Rock Slide does not KO Lugia. So I'm more than happy to let this second move go as well. They're not going to be able to Mudshot down, and I should be able to make it to my Aeroblast, and this Aeroblast will do a lot of damage if it's not shielded. Aeroblast is able to land, and down goes Exca. My opponent is going to be sending in their Waterfall Gyarados. Gyarados looking for the farm down and gets it. Waterfall Gyarados is going to be answered with Dragonite. Dragonite, of course, will be able to tank the crunch, and then if they stay in, I'm just going to continue to farm up, and they are staying in, so it's possible they may be weak to Dragonite in the back, so I'm going to fire off this Dragon Claw, putting pressure on that final shield. Dragon Claw does get shielded. It appears they are weak to Dragonite in the back, so you know what? I will actually preserve some HP here. I commit the shield. They go for the Aqua Tail. In the back, they have Machamp. Machamp opts to go for a Cross Chop, but this is not going to be enough to KO. From a regular Machamp, I will be able to tank a Cross Chop, farm up, and now I have enough charge moves where I should be able to win the game. This Dragon Claw is going to get the Machamp low. We can send in the Melmetal and go for the Double Iron Bash. Double Iron Bash is going to KO the Machamp. Back in comes the Gyarados. Gyarados gets farmed down, and that is a good game. We've got a tricky lead in the next match, Melmetal into Chestnut. Chestnut, of course, does have access to Superpower, but Double Iron Bash is just absurdly fast to get to. I'm able to get to it in only 8 turns. I'm going to farm up here and try and catch a Superpower. I farm up, switch, but I'm not able to catch a Superpower. My opponent banks a ton of energy on Chestnut, and now they're going to send in Excadrill. Exca will start launching Rock Slides at the Lugia. Lugia able to tank the first. Lugia over farming quite a bit here. Here, I fire off the Aeroblast, again, not on the best timing. I was expecting that may end up being a CMP tie, but my opponent ended up going for the extra. They're going to just fire off Rock Slide after Rock Slide here, so at this point, I'm just not going to commit to a shield on my Lugia. I continue to farm. They actually let me make it to a Sky Attack. Now, this is not going to KO, but it will get the Exca into the red. Exca has farmed up a ton of energy, and I'm just going to let this go. Hopefully, Shield Advantage Dragonite will be able to put in a lot of work for me in the endgame. In comes Melmetal. Unfortunately, I did get the one-turn bring-in, so I do get denied there, which is unfortunate. Drill Run is going to land. I'm going to farm up to the back-to-back moves and fire off the Double Iron Bash. This is resisted, but it should be enough to KO the Exca, and this way I leave with energy. In comes Chestnut, and I switch into the Dragonite to catch the move. They go for the Frenzy Plant there. In the back, opponent has Avalugg, and this is not what I needed to see whatsoever. I'm going to fire off the Superpower here. This will do a lot of damage. If it lands, I'm able to grab the final shield from the opponent, but they're able to Ice Fang down. I have energy on Melmetal, but the issue is I just have no HP remaining here. I fire off Double Iron Bash. That is going to deal some nice damage, but my opponent can just continue to fire off moves with Avalugg. Body Slam gets the shield. I make it 2 Double Iron Bash, and I'm firing it off. This will get the KO. I have very little HP left, so I just have to hope that I wait for them to Superpower, and then I have to go for my move. Okay, they go for the Superpower here. I will commit the shield, and I'm going for a Superpower of my own on the CMP tie. This does hit harder than Double Iron Bash. Is it enough? It barely is not. Chestnut hangs on, delivers the killing blow, and that's game over. We've got a bit of a tough lead in the next match, Melmetal into Solgaleo. I will stay in this matchup to start because I do want to land a Superpower before I eventually switch out. Solgaleo is going to fire off the Psychic Fangs right off the bat, trying to ramp up the Fire Spin damage. I'm going to let that through and fire off the Superpower. This will hit for some solid neutral damage onto Solgaleo, and now I can send in Lugia. And with Lugia, I'm just going to be absorbing whatever they throw and continuing to build up on energy. Solgaleo fires off the Iron Head onto Lugia. My opponent is going to send in Zacian. Zacian, one of the Pokemon I was hoping to see with Melmetal. They're going to fire off a move. They go for Play Rough. That's not going to be enough to KO, and now I can return fire with the Aeroblast. This won't KO either, but it will make its presence felt, getting the Zacian low. Zacian farms up and lets me make it to a Sky Attack here. This Sky Attack will grab a shield from the opponent. Opponent continuing to farm up. At this range, even a close combat would be lethal. I'm going to let this through. They do go for the close combat, and now I can send in Melmetal. This will be close combat number 2. I'm going to double shield here, and then I'm going to be farming down. I am able to get the farm down since they're at -4. Opponent sends back in Solgaleo, and now I can apply a lot of pressure here with Superpowers. Superpower gets them low. Here, I decide to go for the slightly cheaper move, but that's a mistake. I'm debuffed. This is resisted. It's not quite going to KO. It's a simultaneous switch. Dragonite into Dialga, and I'm wondering, have I just thrown this game because I didn't go for another Superpower? I'll fire off a Superpower with Dragonite. I'm able to grab a shield from Dialga. Dialga able to get the farm down. Back in comes Melmetal. Melmetal This is going to be tough. I have to reach enough charge moves to KO the Dialga as well as be able to KO that Solgaleo. They're going to fire off another move. It's the Iron Head. That is barely not enough to KO. The question is, do I have the back-to-back loaded here? Superpower is going to KO. I do not, but I'm able to get new mechanic, make it to the double Iron Bash, KO Solgaleo, and win the game. Moving to the next match, leading Melmetal into Gyarados, and this is another situation where potentially having Rock Slide could be quite helpful. I farm up, switch, and I am able to catch a move onto my Lugia. So far, I think Double Iron Bash definitely has play into the current Master League meta, but the one thing I'll caution is I don't think it's a straight upgrade over Rock Slide. To be honest, it feels more like a side grade at the current moment, where there are definitely some matchups like the Zacian matchup where it can help, but if you're going up against a flying type, like let's say going up against a Lugia, going up against a Ho-Oh, or even a Gyarados, unfortunately, that's where the move being a steel type instead of a rock type can really hurt. As you can see here with Lugia, I actually have a lot of play into this Metagross. I'm able to shield up a Meteor Mash, fire off a Sky Attack, and win switch advantage, and that's going to be quite nice, because my Melmetal isn't the most effective Gyarados counter right now because I don't have access to Rock Slide. I'm going to bring in the Dragonite here, they fire off the Crunch, Crunch lands, in the back they have their own Dragonite, and I'm firing off the Dragon Claw, looking to apply some pressure here. Dragon Claw is going to be grabbing their first shield, aggressive switch back into the Melmetal, and here you can see what I'm talking about. Double Iron Bash just does not do a lot of damage onto Dragonite there. I'm able to farm up to 2 more Double Iron Bashes, so this move is incredibly spammy, but the move being very low damage can definitely have its downsides. I fire off the Double Iron Bash. That's going to grab the final shield from my opponent. I continue to farm. I will commit the final shield here. Let's see. Opponent does go for the superpower. I'm able to make it to another Double Iron Bash, but my opponent makes a beautiful catch, catching the Double Iron Bash onto their Gyarados. I'm going to go for the farm down here. My opponent has to superpower the Melmetal on CMP, so I'm going to catch the superpower onto my Dragonite. One good catch deserves another. My Dragonite farms down, and that is a good game. Hopping to the final match, letting Melmetal into Kyogre. Another matchup where not having Rock Slide is a bit awkward, so I save switch into Lugia. My opponent is going to farm up to what could be a Thunder. I do survive a Thunder though, so I am going to let this through. Opponent fires off the Surf. I'm going to farm up and go for the Aeroblast on the CMP tie. Unfortunately, Lugia does lose that CMP tie to Kyogre, but the nice thing is I do survive the Surf, and this Aeroblast is going to deal a lot of damage if they let it through. My opponent is going to commit the shield and go for the farm down, so they do leave with energy. Now I'm going to fully wait my switch clock, and then I'm going to send in Dragonite to look for the farm down. I'm expecting them to pivot, and they do. They're going to send in Dialga. I'm farming up here. I'm going to fire off the superpower, and this should just about KO the Dialga or grab the final shield. I'm able to grab the final shield. I switch into Melmetal so I can save that Dragonite for later. They are going to be firing off a move here. Opponent full sends the Draco Meteor. That does a lot of damage, and suddenly I'm rapidly running out of HP in this game. I have to fire off the superpower here to KO, but that will of course debuff my future attacks. Opponent probably going to be sending back in the Kyogre, and they do. I'm going to fire off superpower here. Superpower, not quite enough to KO, and they reach a last second move. Oh, that is terrible. I'm now 2 stages debuffed in both attack and defense. In comes Garchomp. My switch clock is not up. I'm forced to fire off a Double Iron Bash. This is double debuffed. Does absolutely no damage. I send in Dragonite. I can make it to a Dragon Claw, but even a Dragon Claw would not KO there. And that's game over. Now some final thoughts on Double Iron Bash Melmetal. First off, having an extremely spammy move can be advantageous in some situations for Melmetal, especially going up against Zacian. Being able to spam out incredibly consistent and fast deal damage can actually help Melmetal flip a matchup where previously Melmetal struggled quite a bit. However, I will say, in a meta where there's Dialga, it feels like you have to have superpower, and that leaves Rock Slide as the odd man out in the moveset, and losing Rock Slide definitely does have its negatives, specifically going up against Flyers, especially going up against Ho-Oh. Ho-Oh just absolutely obliterates Melmetal if it doesn't have Rock Slide, so all in all, I would say Double Iron Bash ends up being more of a side grade to Melmetal than a true upgrade or downgrade. So the good news is, I feel like the move has viability, but if you end up not choosing to get a Double Iron Bash Melmetal, you still should be able to put in a lot of work, as either way, your Melmetal should perform fairly decently. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you, as always, to our members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is absolutely incredible. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.